and welcome to today's code showcase. So this is the third one, I believe, and today we're going to be looking on something a little bit different. We are still not totally caught up to speed on the spells and everything, but I figured, why not show off something a little bit different because, I showed you guys one spell, and really all the spells are very, very similar to that one. So if you guys have a spell in particular that you really want to see, feel free to add me and let me know, and I can show you specifically, or I can make a code showcase on the more complicated ones if you guys feel like that. But for right now, I feel like you guys probably have the gist of all that, so instead of doing that, what I'm going to be doing is going over the spell tree instead, as well as some more technical stuff towards the end. As per usual, I like to keep that as, bookended as possible by quote-unquote cool stuff, and we'll see after that. So, first up, this is not actually the spell, or the code window we're going to be looking at, and you guys are going to notice that this is a really complicated file. This is not the same as the spells, it's not as pretty as the spells, and it's a lot more, like I said, complex than the spells. But I think that the function's pretty straightforward once you dig into it. So, first up, a lot of text. I get that, don't worry about it. It is a lot of stuff that can be compressed, but because I know what it is, I don't feel that specific need to compress it all. And I'm going to go ahead and explain everything to you guys, so you don't need to worry about all the length. Don't worry, I'll guide you through it. But other than that, just know that I do know it can be compressed. This is a way more recent thing that I've done. It was probably a month ago or so, I think, a month and a half, maybe 2 months ago. So it's not super recent, I guess, but it's still way more recent than, general spells, damage, that kind of thing. So I'm going to go ahead and start explaining, and we'll go to the other files when necessary. First up, we have this. This is just setting up a background for the spell tree, and the reason for this is behind on connect here is because I want this to be set. Obviously, or not obviously, I guess, to the people that don't use velocity, but I can't set a interface element like this. I can't grab one in a static variable up here, so it has to be an on connect. So as soon as they connect, that happens. Here we have this, which is every time you mouse down on the background, which is this background here, it detects that and it sets your is dragging spell wheel variable to true, and if that's true, then it offsets everything in the spell wheel by this amount, and this is a coefficient just to figure out how much to move when you move your mouse, and it slows it down a little bit. As you can see, it's 1.5 instead of 1. Down here, this is just to move the teleports around. So I'll explain what teleports are, but another reason that this code file is so cluttered is because teleports are handled separately from slots. Teleports are those little transparent things that say that you want to go into body magic. It's the little transparent essence wave image that you can click on to teleport to essence wave. So it's not an actual spell slot, but it is still calculated that way as an offset, or to be offset. After that, it clears the lines, so the prereq lines, it clears them, and then it uses this function down here that we'll get to in a second. Next up we have this, which is just to update your spell points. So it's the little box in the bottom right that shows how many spell points you have. And just so you guys know, most interface code is like this. It's very complicated just because there's so much stuff going on. This isn't even really technically an interface code. This is more of a client side interface code, but just to explain a little bit. And then of course up here I forgot to explain, but if you mouse up, it removes your dragging, so you can't drag while your mouse is up, if that makes sense. If you release the click, that is. This is to determine the spell prereq lines. So if one thing requires a prereq, then it will draw this line in that particular color, whichever one you've chosen. And alpha here is a variable if you want it to be transparent. So you can set alpha to whatever you want. And if I go down here, there is a lot of code here, and it's very similar. This is easily compressible. I could genuinely have half, maybe even a fourth of this code, but I keep it this way so I can see these specific cases. So here, if I quickly open up the game, here we go. So if I open up this game, it's probably going to look tiny relative to the actual thing, but I can click on these tabs over here, and it teleports me here, and then you can see over here that these are transparent. The reason for that being you want to like phase out of these, right? And if I click over here, you can see the same thing up here. So you phase out of these, and these lines are made a little bit more transparent, which is what this is here. So if the spell slot is hidden, which is to say that if you've clicked on a tab for wind, and this spell slot in particular is water related, then it will be transparent, or at least a little bit transparent. The same goes for up here, or rather for the alpha values for these prereq lines, because like I said, they are a little bit transparent. That's that. It's a lot of code, but you know, it's not too crazy. It's mostly just these prereq lines. In fact, it's all just prereq lines. This is to set the info for the spell. So this sends a packet. I'm not going to show you guys the specific packet that it sends, just because there's no real reason. It's far off in the code somewhere. And basically when you open up the page, it sets the info, or when you click on a spell slot, it sets the info, that kind of thing. In short here, it sends a packet to the server saying, I'd like information about this spell. So the server creates a object of that spell, and it copies down the information that it needs or that it requested, and then it sends it back in this little info object packet that it says here, and it uses this function to set that appropriately. That's basically it. This clear info function is just to clear that info. Down here we have a bunch of things setting up these different interface things. It's pretty straightforward. This is a packet. It sends a thing saying, I'd like to buy the spell. If you can buy that spell, it allows you to. And it updates the spell wheel info, the prereq lines, whenever you do. The other stuff here, this is again, what is this? Oh, I see. So if you right click or middle click on the background, it resets everything to its original position. So, you know, I just had to take a second because I forgot about that. Even though I had just used that function, actually. I'd rather just, you know, right click the background in that game. But anyway, these are just to reset all of the hidden values and the alpha values. And then this is to set the tabs. So this is how you actually hide everything in the first place. These are the little tabs to do so. So these are actually just arrays of the trees that it should show whenever you click on it. So whenever you click on the Ignis tab, it shows fire and magma, and everything that's not fire or magma gets invised, or makes it transparent anyway. This is the other part, and again, crazy amount of code, crazy amount of text on screen. Don't freak out. This is actually what I opened the video with, actually. But anyway, the what you're looking at here is what I call a spell button, or I guess what you're actually looking at here is a spell or a button teleport. This is the code for the teleport. So if you click on it, it will find its target location right here, and then it will offset everything else around it. So it will offset you to find that. This is a very strange equation that I figured out to do that. Specifically, it's a little bit complicated, but these are the actual setups for these teleports. So if you want to teleport to, say, the body tree or something like that, then you can. If you want to teleport to the sound tree from Essence, then you can that way too. I'm not going to explain this too in depth because it's a little bit complicated and annoying to explain, and I don't think it would actually help you guys at all, because it's more of like a personal experience thing, right? You want to figure that out for yourself because every situation is a little bit different, and this is one of those little bit different things. Anyway, these are the frames, and they are separated by 2 spaces here, when this one should be, there we go. This is for teleport, this is for spell buttons. Spell buttons are the actual buttons themselves. So if I open up the game real quick, I can show you guys. Oh, it loves to do this. Hold on. Sometimes if I open up previously there was a bug where I would have to do this, delete the last letter of the first line, and then delete the last letter of the first line, and now when I haven't opened up a tab in a really long time, obviously if I haven't removed that, then that's a problem. So sometimes that just happens. It's kind of a relic, but a relic of a, you know, long gone bug. But anyway, these here things right here, these are spell buttons, or what I call spell buttons. So this is the bubble spell button. I really need to change that name. I can't say it for the life of me. But cavitation spell button, bubble prison spell button, cleanse spell button. You get the idea. This is the teleport I was talking about, by the way. This is the Essence Wave teleport. So I click on this and it teleports me to Essence Wave. But anyway, if I go ahead and close this real quick, this here is the code for those. So the spell buttons are a little bit complicated, not too crazy though. This just sets all of the slots when they show to the corresponding slot, or the button frames rather, the slot frame. And if we go further down, I'm going to ignore this code just because it's similar to the set info code. This is where it sets that all up, actually. But anyway, what I've done here is I've allowed myself to make these very simple changes here. So previously the way this was handled was very clunky, and it's easy to compare it to the old mastery system, which was essentially I had an array. So instead of having all of these neatly typed, different spell button types, we would have, say, an array of bubble bobble, cavitation, surge, bubble prison, and cleanse, as in those words, not like these types, right? And I would loop through those, and then I would have another array, say bubble bobble without a space here, and then also cavitation, surge, the icon names, right? And I would just have the corresponding indexes match up. That was really stupid. That was something I made when I was just out of being really stupid, but not enough out of it to know what I was doing. And I still don't know what I'm doing, but I know enough to know that that was stupid. So what I've done now is, even though that might have been a little bit more efficient or code efficient, I have it now so that these are all interface elements. So if I want to, say, select the bubble bubble thing, or that's a cavitation, so I don't have to say that anymore. Cavitation, say I want its active to be something else for some reason. Say I want it to be surge instead of a cavitation itself. Well, I can do that, and I can set the prereq to whatever I want, and this prereq will actually link to the corresponding interface here. So if I set this to surge, it would actually link up here because the S name here is surge. So that's how that works. That's how the prereq lines find each other. And if I wanted to, I can go ahead and show you guys more specifically down here. I forget where I put it actually. Spell wheel, there we go. Blind. So you can see here it's very pretty. There are no prereq lines obviously, and there are no slot frames. You can see some of them are round, some of them are square. That's a relic from when we had circular slot frames, but anyway, I digress. We can go down here, and this is all a little bit wonky. There's a lot of stuff here. This is just the list of interface elements. It's not in any particular order. But if I turn these off so they aren't shown anymore, these are the clipping masks so that it all stays relatively straight. You can see the entire interface shows up here, right? And we can also pan around to through the interface editor. That's actually something recent that Veek added just for me. And through this we can see the entire thing obviously, but we could also go outside the boundaries, like up here for instance, and that still works. So that's really cool. But you can also see the entire sprawling thing. So let's make a change here. What do you think would look good, or what do I think would look good, I suppose? You guys don't really have an opinion on this. One of the important things here is that there aren't slot frames attached to them, and the reason for that is because they are automatically decided. So I don't have to put them down, I just put them up in this corner up here, and then when it runs, whenever they're shown, it automatically finds where it should be going. So I don't have to worry about that so much. I think that for today, to show this off, I don't like where cauterize is. So we don't have to go up here, I just want to show you guys where it is. It's way up here. I don't like that cauterize is so far out, right? I think it should be a little bit closer. So let's put it over here. That way it kind of goes perpendicular, maybe? Anyway, we're going to go back down here and turn these back on. That is a Steam notification. I would really appreciate if it was not here right now. I cannot click that button. There you go. So we show that, show that, show that. Okay, now we can go back, and if you guys remember, you might have to rewind, but when I go back, it will actually have adjusted that position in the spell tree window. And furthermore, when I show it, you should be able to see, yeah, okay, that's actually why I had it over here in the first place, I suppose. Well, that's fine. I think I want this to branch off of sweltering heat, actually. So you know what, let's make that change. Let's, why not? I'm going to quickly close this game. Actually, you know what, I can just unshow it. That's probably a little bit easier. So let's say I want to make this change, and I actually kind of do. So we're going to go down here. We're going to go down all the way. This is separated into hybrid spells, as you can see. Going to go down to magma. Okay. And then as you can see, this is the S teleport here is named Geospike. That's because when you look at magma, it has two prerequisites, and I can probably show you that here. So if I look at this, you can see there's a teleport attached to it. So this is attached to the magma starter, or opener, whatever you want to say. and we will change this here to, what was it? Sweltering heat. So with a change as simple as that, we are actually good to go. That will change the prereq lines and everything else accordingly. So I do no work other than actually just setting up that single line, just changing that line to whatever I want it to be. That could be literally anything in the entire world, assuming it's a spell button, and there you go. It's finished. And that actually kind of looks cool. It looks like an actual constellation. And that's the idea, obviously, with a lot of these. Like this one looks kind of like a constellation. But anyway, that's the whole idea. And, you know, maybe not. I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure how I feel about this because Raging Sun is kind of in the same format. But anyway, you get the idea. It's just that simple, and it really doesn't take much more work to adjust those prerequisites. So I think that's really cool. And I'm really proud of that system because it's very flexible and very, you know, not unique, I suppose, but it was definitely the first of its kind in Velocity, which I'm happy about. Anyway, just because I want to go over what I did recently, we're going to go over the pooling system, as in caching system, whatever you want to call it, for projectiles, for events in general, for any object really. And I will say, I give total credit to Shuri. He came up with this system himself, and it works very well. It's a very nice system, and total respect to him. You know, I could have made the system myself, but it would have been worse because I missed out on a lot of things. And Shuri's a great coder, so I just want to say, you know, credit to him. Not trying to steal anybody's code, obviously. But anyway, this is my adapted version. This is the pooling system as it is right now, and it's a little bit complicated to look at, but in reality it's not that crazy. Essentially we have an object up here, or rather not in here, it's attached to the game manager, but you can see here manager.pool, that is the object we're referencing, and whenever we want a pool to start, we set this display object type in that pool object to an array, and then we will create new ones as necessary. But if ones exist up here, then we will instead set the display object that we return to the first in the list of pooled display object types, right? Yeah. So that's pretty straightforward. Basically, if display objects of the display object type you're trying to grab exist, then you grab the first one and then you return that instead of making a new one. That's the whole gist of it. That's the idea. Down here, we just remove it from the list afterwards because it's no longer being pooled. It's actually in use, which makes sense, I think. This is something for tag. It's not important. This is to set the onNew function. So this arguments variable grabs the arguments you're applying to this function. So this works the same way that new space dob, display object, would work. And you just use this with the type, and this is to set it so that you don't use the type in the onNew function. So pretty simple, and then you return whatever you've created. So if it's a new display object, you return that. If it's not, if you grab the first one in a list, then that's what you grab. The return to pool is pretty self-explanatory too. You turn off the pooling or pooled variable, and then you remove the event from the manager if it is in the events, and you remove it from the toRemove array in the manager as well. The toRemove array in the manager is just an array that it loops through every couple seconds, and when it does, or not every couple seconds, but every couple milliseconds, every 100 milliseconds, I think. And when it does so, it actually uses this function, so return to pool. So if you want to remove something, you can just push it to that array, and it'll do it automatically for you. So that's at its nearest convenience, I should say. But anyway, it sets this tag again, and then it does any onDelete function, and it sets its location to null, meaning it just teleports into space. But otherwise, I think that's everything. This down here is just removing the, or setting the pool up. If it doesn't exist already, it creates one and then pushes it to it. So that's pretty basic, but I thought it was really cool. I saw it when I searched pooling, object pooling, in the Velocity Discord, and Asheri was really kind to share it back when he did. So I wanted to give credit to that, and I wanted to show it off anyway because I think it's really cool, like I said. So hope you guys enjoyed today's code showcase. I know it's not super long like the last one, but that's intentional. I don't really want to make 30-minute videos because I don't think that anyone will watch them, but or not frequently anyway. Either way, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. It was pretty fast out compared to the last one. I recorded that one like a couple days ago, and I'm probably going to be posting this one Saturday or Sunday because I'm going to be gone Friday. But anyway, or I guess, yeah, Friday's tomorrow. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that, and if you guys want more, feel free to let me know. I know Zach surely will. But either way, I appreciate all your support that you've been giving me. So have a good day.